to Raise the Bar Smart Money podcast. Your host, Juan Pablo Delgado, who is a business owner, co-founder of RTV Latinx and Financial Pro, will take you with business owners, professionals, and people who are in the hustle. Raise the Bar Smart Money podcast es un espacio para cotorrear sobre negocios, emprendimiento, la vida misma y el billete. Bienvenido.
For you, I'm empty, hanging and I'm feeling blue. I'm gonna drink till the day that I die. I'll drink till the day that I die.
My guest is Fred Sotelo. He's an easygoing, cool guy with a lot of wisdom and entrepreneurial mindset. Indeed, Fred is president and CEO of Tolteca Corp, an independent distribution, marketing, and logistics company, and co-founder of Cerveza XTECA, a Latino-owned craft beer and coffee company based in San Diego, California. Cerveza XTECA Original, a Mexican-American lager in 2018, was established. XTECA has become a craft beer success story in a crowded beer market while simultaneously working its way around retail off-site and on-site for large big box retailers like Walmart, Barron's Market, to mom-and-pop stores through the Southern California footprint, including San Diego, Riverside, Los Angeles, Santa Clara, San Francisco, and Imperial counties, with market expansions planned in Arizona and Nevada. Fred Sotelo has founded and successfully led different companies in different sectors over a 30 years business career. If you want to learn golden nuggets about money, about being an entrepreneur, and much more, you must listen to the podcast interview. Fred Sotelo, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me, brother. I'm so thankful that you invited me.
Absolutely, Fred. Please, in a few minutes, tell our community a little bit about yourself, your journey, and what things people should know about you.
Well, my journey has been a long one, but it goes really quickly. As you get older, time flies, and I'm thankful. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I've never worked for anyone professionally. I've always, I've worked for people as a contractor, but I've always had my own business since high school. I started my first business when I was 15.
Wow.
And I've always done passion projects, stuff that I'm passionate about. And in the 80s, the big thing was dance music and hip-hop. And so how fun, my first business I started with some buddies was a DJ dance and production crew, right?
Oh, wow.
And so how cool was it? And, at 11th, 12th grade, we're throwing big parties and renting halls and throwing dances and charging money and playing the music we loved and dancing. So that was my first introduction into entrepreneurship. And my business partner at the time, my DJ partner, we didn't have much, but we start renting equipment first. And this is kind of like the access to capital, right? How do you start a business? I learned, trial by fire as a teenager. Well, you need capital, and so my mother allowed us to use her credit card, and we rented equipment at first, and with the money we would make every week, we would save up and start buying our own equipment and our own, music. We had it cost money to run a business, and so thank goodness my first access to capital, my mother believed in me and lent us her credit card to rent the first speakers in. By the time I was a senior in high school, we were doing probably about 15 to 20 schools a year and doing all the parties, and we had a whole bunch of equipment and speakers. And so I think that was, I always joke, my formal education was a DJ crew in high school. You know, it taught me the basics of accounting and sales and presentation and the importance of customer service.
Oh, wonderful. I love that. And how did that make you feel? I mean, like, first experience, like entrepreneur and all those things that you mentioned.
Well, I think you don't know you're doing it at the time, right? You're just doing it. You know, I think most entrepreneurs, whether you're young like I was or older, you're usually doing something you're passionate about or you really like. And so for me, I was just doing what I loved, and I think it just continually progressed. You know, from high school, I went to San Diego State University, and, you know, at 18 years old, you know, I you know, as a student, you know, you have to study, but how cool was it? We were DJing parties at the college and, you know, bigger shows and nightclubs, and next thing I start promoting my own shows and hip-hop shows, and so, you know, I was doing what I would do for free anyways, but I was able to make enough money to put myself through college and you know, and meet some cool people. How cool is it? A lot of these big hip-hop artists, while they were just starting, and I got to do shows with artists and know people, and it was something that was just really cool. You know, that it was a great expression at the time period. Hip-hop in the 80s was definitely an expression of the inner city and how communities felt that a lot of people never knew about. So it wasn't just, you know, entrepreneurship. You know, it was kind of, in my opinion, a movement and activism, you know, to share, you know, what it was like growing up where I grew up, you know, and so it was a great experience. And then, of course, it led into many other businesses that went in, you know, succinct from college, and, you know, just kept evolving and evolving. And here I am today. I own a beer company. So how crazy is that? And a coffee company as well.
Oh, wow. I love that. And, of course, I want to know more about it. So tell us about Cerveza XTECA. I mean, how do you came up with the name, which is super cool? I love it. And what's behind the name? Well,
we got into the beer business in 2015 as kind of my friends and I, you know, as a hobby, I love old school BMX bikes and custom cars, from lowriders to hot rods and trucks. So I've always been in the car world, right? I built my first car and bikes, you know, when I was 10 years old, and first car custom, you know, at 16, 18 years old. And since then, I've always loved cars and vehicles, right? And so a couple of my partners shared the same vision, and when hanging out, folks drink beer, right? That's what you do. You come over to each other's house, and next thing you know, start working on a car, you grab a cold one, and at that time, you know, in the mid, you know, 2000s, a lot of folks, you know, were into the IPA. San Diego's the craft capital of America, and there's a lot of reasons. And we said, where's the beer that our community is, Chicanos, Latinos, that we like? You know, not, you know, and the IPAs tended to be at the time too hoppy or too bitter for us. And so we wanted just a really next level from a Mexican lager, and something that was more full body, you know, tasty. And so what we said, let's create our own beer, like any other entrepreneur, right? And a good friend of mine, Lisa White, she wrote a recipe, and she's real big in the business. And my nephew, Carlitos, was a home brewer, and we did what entrepreneurs do. Went and bought the equipment and a whole bunch of materials, and we showed up at Carlos's garage and said, let's brew this beer. And wow. And, you know, my wife went with me, and next thing she goes, what are you doing? She goes, I go, well, let's try this. Let's see. And the beer, of course, what do we do as true Latinos? We have to have tasters, right? And everyone wants to taste. And we took it to our mothers, all three of our mothers, and we knew they would be honest with us, right? They would tell us if they didn't like it. And none of them really drink, but they told us they liked it.
Oh, wow.
So we said, we're on to something. If our moms liked it, you know, we're doing something right, because they would tell us, oh, we don't like it, or, you know, they would be very honest with us. So from there, we'd start, I've always been an entrepreneur that kind of as a hobbyist first, you got to try it, see if it's working.
Right.
And then we start really doing the numbers, the research, and then we realize, the alcohol business is very tough. It's very regulated. There's ABC, there's a lot of laws. And so what we thought we could start really quickly actually took a couple years to get the license, the legal, and there's a lot more to it than we thought. It wasn't as easy just getting a fictitious name and starting a business. We had to go through a lot.
Right.
And so it gave us time. And so when it came to the name, originally our company has been Tolteca for, 20 years, and we were going to have Cerveza Tolteca. But there was a trademark issue at the time. And so right before to go to market, we were ready. We had the artwork, and all of a sudden our lawyers said, you can do it, but you're not going to own it outright. And so, we're too far into this to not do it right. So we went back and scratched our heads, what can we name this company, right? The beer. And there's always this duality being Mexican-American, right? We're Mexican as descent, but we're also very American, right? As if we're born here. And so, we love hip-hop and we love Mexican music, and we love norteña, and we like mariachi, and at the same time, we listen to rock and roll, right? And so with that, in a lot of Chicano movement, we've always had the X, right, that represented, in the old days, the Mexica. And so we said, you know what, and we joke, the border crossed us, right, that we, it's just where we're at, and this is, we always joke if, Aztlan, the mythological homeland of the Toltecs and the Aztecs, right, was all of the Southwest, and we said, you know what, let's put an X in front of the TECA, and we called it XTECA, and we just created the name, and we felt that it represented it. So the only trademark in the world of XTECA is us. We own it. And we felt that we're creating our own tribe and our own identity, but that pays homage to our roots of being Mexican and also being American, right? That
right.
We can highlight all of these unique aspects of who we are and our identity. And so XTECA is more than just a beer or coffee. We felt it was an expression of who we are, right? That, we could be who we want to be and define who we want to be.
Oh, wow. What a story. And that's wonderful. I love it. And yes, you are unique. And I wonder, what are some of the struggles that you have and some of the lessons you learn?
Well, one thing I could tell you, failure is a given. There's a lot of failures when you're an entrepreneur. And so when you say struggle, struggle and failures, I've had an abundance of them, way more than successes. And I'm not shy to, it's just the truth. It's not easy. And, and being an entrepreneur, it can be lonely. Today, even though I'm a CEO of a company, I'm still up at 4 a.m. doing paperwork, come to the office, get to the warehouse. And, there's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of letdowns when you're starting a business. Things just always may not go the right way for you. It's tough. So I think the challenges are just, there's obstacles, but I think the lessons are you just have to have the right attitude. When I say attitude is, things happen and you got to choose how to respond to it, right? You could be upset and defeated, or you could say, what's the solution to keep going forward? And I've chose to be an optimist and say, you know what, whatever's thrown our way, let's just keep moving through it, and we have to figure it out. And sometimes you have to try to think a step ahead. And so, and then the true, especially coming from a diverse community, I come from a modest, family, is access to capital. That's a really big issue for our community, is having the access to the appropriate funding, not just using all your life savings and different forms of funding your business. That's a big issue. A lot of times, we're not, like my company is growing really fast. We're in 8 counties now. We're in Walmart. I was in 3 Walmarts today alone, and we're in Barron's, and we're in liquor stores. We're at, the convention center, the fairgrounds, the park. We're in a lot of places now, and so this growth takes a lot of money. It's not just you make money; you need money to build a company and keep going. And so it's tough because access to capital is very tough. And we've seen it. The disparity during COVID. You look at the companies that received the government funding. Communities of color, Black and Latino did not receive it based on their percentage of the population. They had more challenges.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Oh, so wow. and so you got to say, okay, it is a fact, and I've learned. So I can't be upset. I got to say, how do I work my way around this, right? So making sure your credit is strong, making sure, and it's hard to keep your credit strong when you need a leverage and you need to use your money, right? So
right.
I think that's a big challenge. And then I think the third one is I've learned you have to believe in yourself, because there's going to be often times that no one believes in you. And instead of getting upset and, worrying about it, I've learned, well, Fred, it's just you and those that are close to you. And a lot of times people didn't, like my grandmother, when she, before she passed, she had no idea what I did. She just knew I did something, right?
Right.
But just her smile and the fact that, are you hungry? And, so you got to find supports that work for you. So not everyone's going to be able to support you maybe financially or with things you may need resources, but you got to find what works for you. And for me, it's been family. Family has always been how I deal with being an entrepreneur, because I always reflect why I'm working hard is for my family. And, to hopefully have a better life for my children and their children. And so that gives me perspective to keep going forward, I guess.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful, Fred. And thank you so much for sharing. And also, we hear a lot about, success. A lot of people want to be an entrepreneur. They want to have financial independence. Can you share some of your insights or maybe some of the most important financial lessons that you learned?
This is a tough one because, I'm not really strong in social media, but when I go on, I see everyone, they're an entrepreneur, they're an investor, they're something, right?
Right.
And I'm like, man, where do all these successful people come from, right? I go, I've been doing this my whole life, and first of all, I don't even have enough time to go onto the social media to do these things that people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the challenge is sometimes I joke, I don't wish entrepreneurship on my enemy. It's not easy. It really isn't. And I've had a lot of success in terms of, accolades and businesses that have been successful and, been in the spotlight. And I've also had a lot of failures. And so I tell people, when you're getting into the business, first of all, I've lived by this, is regardless of what you're doing, product or service, you got to be the best. You can't cut corners. You have to make sure whatever you're doing is superior, because at the end of the day in business, the customer is always going to drive the market. And you might be able to sell something, but if the customer doesn't want to keep buying it from you, you're not going to grow. So you really got to focus on quality and, having the best product or service possible, number one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Number two is, you have to humble yourself to say, even when the money's coming in, you have to be careful to not just go start spending money when things are good. You have to put it away, and you have to, invest in the business. You always are investing in your business. And it's hard because, you've got to pay yourself. And of course, and then most entrepreneurs successful, you'll hear, stories where they didn't pay themselves for years, in order to be successful. And there's some truth to that. You have to be willing to really, go without in order to build a company, because the more successful you are, it's going to take more investment in capital and resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tell people it's a journey. It's a marathon entrepreneurship. It's not going to go fast. And some people do, work hard and they get into something and it goes fast. And I'm so happy when I see those stories, right? It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But a majority, it takes time. It takes time. And And I think it's important for entrepreneurs as they're growing their business, you have to network within whatever you're doing, right? If you're doing in a certain sector, I'm in beer now, I have to learn everything and know who's the player, and whether it's I'm sourcing cans or I'm sourcing this, and really understand the industry and utilize organizations. You know, in Los Angeles where you're at, you have the Los Angeles Latino Chamber of Commerce, you know, and they're a great organization that may be able to connect you with grants or capacity, or they may be able to, through their mixers, introduce you to a possible contract, or at worst, you'll meet like-minded people like yourself. And so I highly recommend that not only stay within your trade, but also these organizations like chambers or trade organizations. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, within your business, you know, you really got to understand your financials. It's tough because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're so busy executing what we're doing, right? And delivering, we have to really, and I've always said, money in, money out, and measure those two things. You know, how much money's coming in, how much is going out, and take the time, because it's little nickels and dimes become dollars, and it's easy to lose track of them. Mm-hmm. And you know, go look at COVID. You know, so many of our businesses, you know, struggle to make it, and so I really, you know, tell entrepreneurs, focus on your money in, money out. You know, take advantage of resources that are available both in your trade and externally, and then, you know, at the same time, have fun. You know, as an entrepreneur, you know, it's a tough journey, but find ways to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, it's misery, right? You might as well go get a job where you hate it, because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you know what I mean? That's, to me, entrepreneurship. I still feel like I've never worked. I'm 50 years old, and, you know, yes, I've been an entrepreneur and business owner, but I'm doing what I love, and so every day is fun. And it sounds kind of cliche, right? That it's fun, and it's hard, and it's not always fun. But if most of the time you're doing what you like to do, it is fun. And so I highly recommend that when folks get into it, find something you really enjoy, you know, whatever it is. And a lot of times people do something that they already know, right? And then they make it a business. You know, and me, I got into beer business, and I've never was known to be a beer guy, right? But I knew there was an opportunity, right? And I knew that I had the skill set for marketing. For many years, I owned a marketing company. So I knew that I was able to take my skills and apply them. The creative graphics that you see with XTECA, it's all done in-house. You know, my partner Mario designs everything, and it's authentic. And anything you see that comes out of our company is very authentic and real, and it comes from us.
Right.
You know, we don't have consultants. We do it. Whatever you see, and I think it comes out. You know, today I'm driving on the freeway in XTECA trucks, and you know, how cool is it? Someone's snapping a photo of the artwork on the side of the van and giving us thumbs up. You know, they like what we're doing.
Right.
And that comes because we're passionate about what we're doing. You know, we really take, you know, a value in what we're doing. And so I recommend, you know, entrepreneurs, make sure you love what you're doing, and it's something that you see yourself doing for a long time, and you want to do it. You want to get up at 4 a.m, or, you know, or stay up late because time's not impacting you.
Right. Oh, wow. I 100% agree with you, and I really thank you for sharing all that ideas and experience. You seem very confident right now. Was that always the case?
Yeah, I've always, I don't know about confidence. I think the best way to answer it is, a lot of times I never knew I couldn't do it, right? I didn't know that you couldn't have a DJ company as a kid. And, you know, I had a pager when I was 15, and they banned me from the schools because they said I might be a drug dealer. I'm like, I don't use drugs. I've never been around it. But I had a pager because I was booking shows at 15 years old. So I've always kind of like a Forrest Gump of business. I've never not known I can't do it. I just kind of do things, and, you know, being excited and wanting to do something you like. So, that question of confidence, I think, and it's important, I think, that you have confidence in the business you're doing. Because if you don't have confidence, it could destroy you, because entrepreneurship, like I said, you have to be tough. I mean, and my biggest mentors I've seen in some of the questions you ask are the women in my life. My grandmother, my mother, these are women that they went to work and worked hard. My grandma worked in the fish canneries. My mom would work multiple jobs, and they never complained. They just worked hard, right? And at the same time fed us and helped out here and were positive. And so what great mentors for me to look at to have the right attitude.
Right, exactly. And actually, that was the other question that I would like to ask you, that what leaders or mentors or entrepreneurs do you respect or look up, and why?
It's tough because I've always done stuff where there wasn't really many. I got into the internet in the late 90s, and so I was one of the first .com, Latinos especially, on Viva Hollywood. And, I was into hip-hop music before a lot of folks. And, and I've always done stuff kind of early. And, even the beer, if in the country, there's only a few Latino-owned beer companies in the entire country.
Yeah.
And so I've always kind of been an outlier. And so I think I haven't had as many mentors that I would like just recently. I've been, people joke, I go, yeah, will you be my mentor? And everyone laughs, because I think mentors are critical and important. And I advise anyone listening to the show, please find someone that could, assist you and lend their experience. But I didn't have a lot of mentors in the things I was doing, and so it was tough. And so to answer your question, I'm always open to help others and answer questions from other people that are trying to do their business. And please, anyone listening, give me a call, look me up. I'm on social media, Fred Sotelo. You could find me in, the Facebook or LinkedIn. And, I could lend my mind. And, if you have a question, call me. I have no problem sharing, because I think it's important. And if you could find others that share, do it. It's because it's tough. Like I said, you put into positions, and if you don't have the right resources and information, it's easy to make a bad decision.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What's the best way for the community to get in touch with you or your company, with Cerveza XTECA?
Just go follow us on, if you're 21 and over, you could go to CervezaXTECA.com or any of our social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, Cerveza XTECA, or just myself, Fred Sotelo, and my last name is Sotelo, and I'm on LinkedIn or Facebook, and just message me. And I'm pretty good at getting back to people. I have a policy. If someone, calls me or outreaches, I try to get to them by the end of the day. And even if it's a quick call or response, I kind of live by that, because I know how valuable other people's time is. And I think to end this, kind of interview, I think people always ask, Fred, you've been an entrepreneur for a long time in businesses, and what's your greatest success? And, I think the greatest success I've had as an entrepreneur is I've been able to be a good father and a husband, and a son to my mother, because the entrepreneurship has given me more flexibility, so I could go to the pumpkin patch with my kids and their field trips, and, pick them up from school often, and, drop them off, and my wife, support her and what she's doing, and my family members. And so I think, there's a lot of outcomes of entrepreneurship, but I think what I really value is the flexibility it gave me to be a better family member and friend. So, I think, looking at it today, a lot of people think, well, what about the money and what about this? And I said, money's always a problem. So I never look at that as an end result. More money you get, you have more problems, so, but it comes down to family. And I really believe that. Maybe that's different. I know as a Latino and Chicano, family is a big part of our life and our value.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I have no problem. All my kids have been raised with me in businesses and working with us. And so it's normal for them. And I've always had the attitude is, as long as they know where I'm at, they might be bored and wish they could be doing something else, but at least we're not leaving them. They're with us, and they see what we're doing. And it's been nice now that they're older. The older ones, thank you, Dad. I'm glad I went to all these things with you and worked. But when they're little, they don't see it that way because they want to be doing something else.
Fred, what legacy would you want to leave behind?
I think there's 3 things that I live by, and the first one I always look at what's happiness to me, and so when I say legacy, happiness could be, for me, I love listening to old school music and just getting in the car and driving, right? And so if it's Father's Day or my birthday, I'm not big on parties or gifts. I just want my kids, let's get in the car and drive around and listen to music and just spend time together. So, my happiness is pretty simple, but it's important, right? And my happiness is seeing those around me happy. So number 2, I've always looked at wealth building. What does wealth building look like for me, my family? And, it's mental wealth, right? Are we, just coming out of COVID was devastating to our community, right? It was mentally, not just we were worried about getting sick, but mentally it was challenging, right? We didn't know, there was uncertainty. And so to me, wealth building is not just in financial terms, but spiritual, mental, I always say, I put God and family first, and if I'm obedient to God and I believe and then, my family, then everything else will fall in line. And that's part of when I say wealth and happiness. And I think the third piece is really critical for my life when you say legacy is impact. What impact are we having while we are here on earth? And that impact can be, am I volunteering? I volunteer with the YMCA of San Diego County, and I've been volunteering many years at the Jackie Robinson YMCA, as well as being a member. But I'm also chairman of the board of governors for the county of San Diego YMCA, and that's a pretty, we're a large organization. We're one of the larger nonprofits in the region, and I spend my time in meetings, and hopefully we have equity and access for, all those we serve and opportunities internally. And so to me, if volunteering and whatever way we could be impactful is important to myself and my family. And everyone has a different meaning of what impact was. And I just tell people whatever you feel it is, whether it's helping out at the baseball field, pick up equipment, or at your church or at the school or whatever it may be, impact, what impact are we having in this life while we're here? And if you put those 3 things, your happiness, your wealth building, and impact, and measure them. What did it mean this year? Because next year I might not like listening to old school no more, right? Which I doubt will happen, but so during COVID, check this out, because it was scary, right? We have a company, we lost half of our clients overnight, right? Our distribution business, they're closed. And I was one of those, I love BMX bikes, and you couldn't really be out. I couldn't go to, so what I was doing at my office? I was building bikes. My son built an old, 80s BMX bike, a GT, and during COVID, I went crazy and built a few bikes and, would ride them around the neighborhood. And finding the parts for these old bikes was crazy, right? You're trying to hunt them down and you can't go out because of COVID. But that was my happiness, right? And I think when you look at legacy, I whether it's entrepreneurs, anyone is, you need a balance. And everyone has different balances, right? What means something to someone else may not mean something to me or vice versa. But I always tell people, challenge yourself to ask those questions. What makes me happy? Where am I doing my wealth building? Am I planning for when I get older or today? And, can I help out? And usually if you could answer those questions, at least for me, I'm happy. I'm doing the right thing.
Right. Wow, thank you for sharing that. And for me, my balance is enjoying with friends and compadres, my michelada or my...
Well, you need some XTECA, Cerveza XTECA with your compadres now. You can't not do that.
No. Of course not.
We made it for you, brother. We made XTECA for you. You're going to love it. The beer is amazing.
Oh, wow. Perfect. No, I'm looking forward to do that.
Yeah. And the coffee as well.
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
Yeah, our coffee is from Mexico. We bring it from Mexico and roast it here in San Diego.
Oh, wow. So you have coffee and cerveza. I mean, what else is like?
I know. That's all you need, right?
Walking on clouds. Yes.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and you just need that, your compadres and loved ones, and hey, life is good.
Exactly.
And we did. When we brew our beer and our coffee, made exactly for what you said. It's just enjoying each other's company.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Wonderful. And Fred, what's the most exciting thing are you working on right now?
I might have to cut you if I tell you.
Okay.
No, I'm joking with you. No, you know what? There's a couple things. I'm really excited because I'm a big nerd. Anyone that knows me. So yes, we have the beer company. We have the coffee company, and we also have our logistics and marketing company. So we're launching a couple more sites. We just launched vivacrypto.io. It's a crypto website with information.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm an amateur crypto guy. I've been intrigued by it for a long time, and I've always been researching. And so I really think I'm excited about the application of crypto, not just what people hear about it. It's a coin and you could get rich or you're going to lose money. There's all those myths. I think, it's like anything else. We got email in the early 90s and no one ever thought, it would go farther. Right now, companies, the biggest companies that came out of the internet bust when everyone in 2000 said, these internet companies are they're not making it. Well, now they're dominating the Amazons of the world, the Apples, the FinTech, and, the YouTube, the Netflix. Who would ever thought Blockbuster would go away, right? And so I think crypto, the application of it in the future is exciting because it's not just in coins. It's, it's ledgers, it's logistics. There's so much you could do with it. And so we got a couple projects we're working on, and we'll launch them. I think the big issue of remittance, money transfer, when I'm in Mexico, by the time I get my money exchanged, I lose 10%. And then by the time this and bring it back, and I think decentralizing may be a future especially as we become more of a global economy. I also see, logistics. How can you because what crypto does is basically has a decentralized ledger and database. That's what it does, right? So, I think during COVID, crypto would have been great for measuring where the vaccines are and making sure they're authentic and did they show up and this is real. And, there's so many ways the application that we haven't even touched on yet. I mean, when I was a kid, you had Visa and MasterCard and Discover Card. And back then, MasterCard was first and no one liked American Express because no one took it, right? But now American Express is everywhere, and now Visa's big. But are they a currency? No, they're just a way to transact currency, right?
Right.
And it's just like an ATM card. And, before, think about it, it's changed how we look. Look at FICO. FICO, are they a currency? No, they just do data about you, right? Information about financial history. And so I think there's a whole ecosystem that's going to come up from fintech and crypto. And I want to see communities of color and women have access. Why can't our communities be the programmers, right? Why can't we be owners of these companies? Why can't we work in this sector? And so I think I want to see more participation of communities like ours in this sector, because there is going to be a lot of money, and it's here. It's going to come. And so our community needs to be at the table and participate.
Right. No, I love it. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Fred. And
so we have two projects we're working at are pretty exciting. Too premature to announce it, but we're really doing some cool stuff that I'm excited about. And it, like I said, going back to most of the times it's you just got to research and figure it out. And I've always done stuff a little before people, and so we're learning as we go.
Well, Fred Sotelo, thank you so much for being in the podcast. I really enjoyed the conversation and everything that you share. And also thank you for came up with the next level for Mexican cerveza, amigo. And
craft,
yeah, exactly. And before wrap this up, a final message that you would like to share with our community?
You know what, everyone? Keep your heads up. What's been a tough year with this COVID, and even before COVID, we had challenges. I think housing market. There's a lot of, politically has been tough for a while for us, and as Latinos, sometimes we've been villainized, right, in the economy, and my thing is, know what, everyone out there, you're beautiful. We're all beautiful. Let's just keep contributing to society and doing good things. And no matter what, there is no economy without having equal participation, which Latinos make up a big part of the Southwest United States. So I have the best wishes for everyone out there, whether you're an entrepreneur, a teacher, a fire person, or, a stay-at-home family member. Just much love, and let's be optimistic and love each other going forward. We got to get rid of all the negative stuff that has been hitting us, and let's just keep going forward.
Me encanta. Thank you so much.
Brother, we love you and appreciate you. The best of success as always, and thank you for taking time to interview me.
Absolutely. Fred Sotelo, keep raising the bar. It was so nice having you on the show, and be safe.
Be good, brother. We appreciate you.
Drink beer, it's good for you. I'm empty-handed and I'm feeling blue. I'm gonna drink till the day that I die. Shut bubbles down my throat. I'm empty-hearted and I'm all alone, but I'm gonna drink till the day that I die. Hiding Alka-Seltzer and my loaded drink. I'm crying out for your help to stop me from me thinking. No sex, drug, and rock and roll. My man had left me on the front of gun, so I'll keep on drinking till the day that I die. Day that I die.